Okay, so your TMO greetings, just letting people come in. If you have any issues with the sound or the images, just let me know. Just want to make sure we everything is straight. Okay. Okay, so your TMO greetings, yet I'll say once again, we thank you once again for tuning in. I'm Odwirafo, Kwesi, Rana Himpata, Akan Ojirafo of Akwamu Mine, Amaruka Tifi Mudi, Akwamu Nation, in North America within Ojiraman, the purified nation, Afurakani people, African Black people in the Western Hemisphere. So I wanted to touch on this subject. Actually, this particular time, this weekend, apparently there's going to be a great snowfall in different parts of the country. I wanted to focus on this because anything that happens in nature and affects us is directly related to our spiritual cultivation. So we want to point out some things that most people are actually unaware of. So the title, of course, as you can see here, is Ausar, the divinity Ausar in Hoodoo, the Abosom, which is the Akan term for deity, god or goddess of snow, ice, hibernation, and meditation. So anytime we go to a different region, whether we are in Africa or elsewhere, if we were living in a forest region and so forth, and then we were forced to move, or we migrated to a desert region, the plant life, which is sparse, animal life, mineral life, and so forth, certain things are different. So if you come in contact with animals you never saw before, and they have a certain energy complex, we would ask the Abosom, the divinities, which one of you governs this specific animal? Which one of you governs a specific plant that we've never seen before, or a certain kind of mineral and so forth? And then we incorporate that into our daily practice. If we need to extract medicine from that specific plant that we've never seen before, we find out what divinity governs it, how to invoke that spirit, utilize it for medicine, heal ourselves. And now we've incorporated a new plant into our clan that we've never had for the past 3,000 or 4,000 years. So anywhere we move to a mountainous region, desert region, equatorial forest, riverine area, savanna region, wherever we move to in the region of the Earth Mother's body, we have to take stock of the plant life, animal life, mineral life, and even if we come in contact with other Afurakani people, African Black people we've never seen before, we take stock of their nature and, their clans and their energy complexes and so forth to see how we can harmonize with them. That's always been the case. That never stops. So even when we were forced to migrate through the enslavement era, which we call the Musuo Kessie, the great perversity, the enslavement era, we still were forced into a different region of the Earth Mother's body. And so we have to do the same thing. When we escape from enslavement and set up our independent sovereign maroon settlements and so forth, we have to interface with the plant life, animal life, and mineral life in this region of the Earth Mother's body. Certain things we're familiar with, but certain animals we've never seen, like possums, and even as you can see in this image here, the black bear didn't exist in West Africa, and so forth. So we had to find out what force in nature governs these animals, these different plants, this mineral life, and how do we harmonize with that? That's part of the Hoodoo tradition. So when we first came over here and we, say we came in July and we were enslaved and we escaped and so forth and set up an independent sovereign space. Well, a few months later, something happened that we never saw happen before. All of a sudden, all of the leaves start falling off all of the trees. Then all of a sudden the temperature drops to the point where we've experienced coolness before, but we've never experienced freezing. And then this white stuff falls out the sky and starts blanketing everything. So we're trying to figure out what's going on here. And then months later, that snow disappears and the greenery returns and so forth, and things get back to normal. So we see that we're living in a region that goes through a process where everything dies and then things come back to life and so forth. Whereas where we were living in a tropical area, yeah, some plants die and things like that, but we've never seen all the leaves fall off all of the trees and everything is blanketed in a white substance and all the greenery and, beauty is gone for a certain period of time. So we have to figure out, what is this white stuff coming from? Where does it come from? What force in nature produces it or governs it? And how do we harmonize our life activities in this region of the Earth Mother's body? So in the Hoodoo tradition, we had to find out, what is the divinity governing this? And the divinity Awusi, as he's called in Akan, or Asi, he's called Awusi or Ausar in ancient Kamit. He's Obatala in the Yoruba tradition, and Dangbe and Vodun, and Agu Isi and Igbo and so forth. But for Akan people forced into North America who preserved Akan religion, the Hoodoo tradition, we had to find out which Abosom, which divinity governs this time frame and this energy complex and so forth. And this is what we did. So we want to get into some detail first. Now, let's check this page out. So we have the bear right here. And in fact, let me switch this over right quick, just so you can get some insight. The imagery that we have, the symbols that you see, the Meduten Toro symbol that you see. So the symbol we have on the page is Saraku. That is a term for snow in ancient Kamit. And you see the symbol here, the rectangular symbol with the wavy lines coming down. That's the symbol. The rectangular symbol is the pet symbol, which means sky. And then the watery, wavy lines coming down is something is falling from the sky. We utilize that for rain, but in this context, Saraku is snow as well. And this is what we're talking about. Now we want to go to our book, and I've published 31 books to date. And one of these books, we deal with the Abosom of the 7 days of the week. And this is our Akradin Bosom page on the website. And let me make sure you can see that. All right. This is the Akradin Bosom page on our website. So in our Akan tradition, which preserved in the Hoodoo religion, of course, which is Akan Ancestral religion in North America. Hold on 1 second. All right. We have names associated with the days of the week, but those names associated with the days of the week are actually what we call Kradin, or soul names. And we're governed by specific divinities, and this is why we have these names. So for example, I'm born on a Sunday, which is Akwesida or Awusida. My soul name is Kwesi, which is Kwa Asi, a servant Kwa of the divinity Asi. If I was born on Tuesday as a male, I would be Kwa Bena, a servant Kwa of the deity Bena. If it was a female born on Tuesday, she would be Ah Bena, a servant of the female divinity Abena. So every day of the week, there's a male or female divinity that governs the solar, lunar, planetary body that governs that day of the week. And that spiritual force is the force that governs us. So when we're born into the world on a certain day of the week, in our Akan culture, that's an indication to the community of what divinity was assigned to this spirit before they came into the womb. And once you're assigned to a certain spirit, then that spirit will make sure you're born on their day. So the community knows, oh, you were born on Benada Tuesday. That means you're a child of the deity Bena if you're male, or Abena if you're female. Let's look at and this is directly related to the divinity Ausar as well. So let's look at our chart. These are the days of the week, the deities that govern them in Akan, and we also compare the Yoruba, Ewe, and ancient Kamit and Kamit. But here's our chart, which is important. So we put this chart together to show the solar, lunar, and planetary bodies that govern the 7-day week, the Akan sacred ritual statuary representing these divinities. We also show their images in ancient Kamit, same divinities, same names, same functions in creation, unbroken. We also show that these deities govern the 11 major body systems and all natural cycles in creation. So So if you're born on a Sunday, or Awusi, if you're a female born on Sunday, you're a child of the female divinity Asi or Esi, which is all said in ancient Kamit. If you're male, you're born on Sunday, is Awusi or Ausar. If you're a female born on Tuesday, it's Sekhmet or Abina. A male born on Tuesday is Herubedeti or Benna. And when you look across the board, there's a male and female force in creation that governs each day of the week, because each day of the week is governed by the solar, lunar, and planetary bodies. So names like Kweku and Kofi and Afua and Ama and Ajowa, Jojo, Kwajo, Kujo, Kwabena, Abena, Kweku, Akua, Yao, Ya, Aba, and so forth, Kwame, Ama, all these different names are soul names, which are actually, they're day names, but they're soul names. They're Kradin, soul names, but also Dadin, day names. And that's important because when you're born into the world, that divinity governs your head, and people know that, so you have a soul name associated with that deity. So anytime someone calls me Kwasi or Kwesi, they're saying I'm a servant Kwa of the divinity Asi. And when I say that to them, I'm invoking that divinity that governs my spiritual head and realigning with that force in creation. Now, what's important is that Akan people, when they were forced into enslavement, when you look at the records and they were selling this young man or this young woman and so forth, and they would say this person's name is Kwaku or Kojo or Afua or Afi or Ama, it proves that we maintain these names, and we still maintain them. They praise names like Jojo or Kobe for Kobena or Kwabena. Kobe is short, or Esi or Kasi for Akasia or Akwesia or Akwesiba and so forth. When you look at the nicknames and praise names for these soul names or nay names, we preserve them in the Hoodoo tradition. That means every person practicing Hoodoo, when they're born into the world, we know what divinity governs them if we maintain the culture. This entire pantheon of deities is preserved. One of them is Awusi, which is Ausar, and this is the one we want to focus on. So let's go back. We wrote articles on each one of them and also a book. The first 2 volumes of a multi-volume set, parts 1 and parts 2, Akradin Bosom, and in part 2 we talk about Ausar and Auset, which is Awusi and Ajwa, and we want to get to that one and show you. So when you see this divinity, when we came over here, the dominant constellation in the wintertime, this is the first time that we're experiencing winter, is the constellation called Sa in ancient Kamit, which the whites and offspring called Orion. In Akan, it's called Inyenkrente. So that constellation that's dominant in the wintertime, around the winter solstice and so forth, is governed by the divinity Awusi. So when we ask the deity Awusi or Ausar, or ask the supreme being in general, who is this divinity who governs the snow and so forth, this white stuff, and what's happening with the change and so forth, we find out that it's governed by the divinity Awusi. Now let's look at his imagery. Now you see he's in all white and so forth. He also, sometimes he wears the greenish crown, but also the white crown, mummified in white. The story dealing with Awusi or Ausar is death and resurrection. He's killed, he dies, and then he resurrects and becomes a force in nature and the chief of the divinities and so forth. Just like Auset becomes the queen mother of the divinities, Ausar becomes the king or the Ohini and so forth of the divinities. So this one draped in white, he's also mummified, crystallized and so forth. That's what the mummification process is. So when you look at that, he governs the constellation Sa, or so-called Orion, and he's called Ausar Sa, Ausar in the constellation Sa. And in Akan, we call him Inyenkrente, and it's dominant at the wintertime. They showed us who this divinity is, who this force in nature is governing this great constellation when it's cold outside and so forth. The one that's mummified, purified, all in white, wrappings, also the white crown and so forth. And when you look at the white snow and the coolness and so forth, you find that this is the divinity who dies, is mummified, but then resurrects. The land over here dies, it becomes cold, it becomes hardened, and then it resurrects. When you have water, that's fluid and so forth, when it becomes cold, it becomes hard, ice, like mummification. But then when the warm comes, the steam rises up like a spirit rising up, into the heavens and so forth. So Ausar's death and mummification and resurrection has to do similar to the water becoming ice and then becoming steam and rising up into the heavens. And he governs that process. Now, let's look at it. So they give us this, and then they give us the details regarding it. So we look at his name, Ausar. In Coptic, you see is Usidi, as you see right here. He's seated on his throne. And then we have something interesting in the Akan language. And we show in this book that the divinity, he's called Awusi or Asi in ancient Kamit. He's called Asi in Akan. When we look in the Akan dictionary, you see Osisire or Sisi is a bear. Sisi, a bear. Sisire, a bear. The Per'a, so-called pharaoh, Sahu Ra, they often write as Sahure, but it's Sahu Ra, in the 5th dynasty of Kamit, 4,500 years ago, imported the Syrian brown bear into Kamit. We say it's interesting to note that the spelling for the bear is Hetemet, and the spelling includes the symbol of the Yasi, the seat, and so forth. The seat or throne, this is the seat, the foundation, the lower part of the back, Sisi and Akan, also the name for bear. Osisire becomes Osisi or Sisi. That is the title of Ausar. His name is spelled with the throne and the I. The way Ausar's name is spelled, you see the throne right here, which is Asi, and the I is Ari, so Asi, Ari, or Asiri, or Asari, and so forth, different dialectical variants, but that's how his name is spelled. The throne is first because he's dealing with executive authority. He's the born king, born leader, and so forth. And then the I under the throne to see what's going on in the entire nation. They talk about the king's eyes, or hemisphere, the king's eyes see everything that goes on in the nation and so forth. So you have the throne, the seat of executive authority, and the I and so forth, the all-seeing eye. That's how his name is spelled. But you also find that the term Asi or Sisi in Akan, the lower part of the back from one thigh bone to the other and so forth. And this is the Sisi right here, but that is the seat. That's the throne. Let's go back up right quick. So the root of the term, the name, one of the definitions of Ausar is Asi. He's Awusi, Ayisi, Awisi, and so forth, but the root is Asi. To stand, to be fixed in an upright position, to institute, to set on foot, to set in operation, make arrange, and so forth, to institute. So to lead, arrangement, institution. So the one who's the leader, the ones who set things in motion, the one who founds and establishes and rules and so forth, is at the seat of authority, Asi. That's the root name, Asi. And even physiologically, the throne upon which you sit, the foundation to keep you upright and so forth, so you're not slumped over, focused upright and so forth, is the CC. Now, and so that goes back to Asi or Osidi in Coptic. The throne itself is the Asi. And then you also have the Sisire or the CC, the bear. And why is the bear important? If you talk about death and resurrection, now let's go back. When you're talking about death and resurrection, of course, the great symbol of death and resurrection in the Western Hemisphere, that a person who's Akan in the Western Hemisphere and sees a certain animal totem, and they're trying to see. We saw this black bear. You see Ausar with the black skin. You see this black bear and this white snow. You see the Ausar, the divinity, the black skin and the white wrapping and so forth. But what's the thing with the bear? First, the bear in Akan culture, when we came from Akan culture, coming from the western part of the continent, forced here, when we saw this black bear, the only animal similar to that in West Africa is the sisi, or sisire. And so we saw an animal similar to that. So we get over here. We've never seen a black bear before, a brown bear, because they don't exist in West Africa, West Africa. But we see an animal, this animal we've never seen before, but it is most similar to the sisire, or the CC that we know about on the continent. So we start calling this animal CC or Osisire, which is Osir or Ausar and so forth, black, surrounded by white. He's living in the white. And what does he do that's reflective of what Awusi or Ausar does? Not just because he's black and he's living in the white snow, but the snow itself comes and it blankets everything and it becomes hard and ice and so forth. And then eventually when the warmth comes, it melts and resurrects and the steam rises up. What does the bear, the CC, do? When the winter comes and so forth, he goes into hibernation. And when he goes into hibernation, he goes into a sleep mode for a number of months. His body is still cold and so forth and not moving. And then when the spring comes, he resurrects. He goes into a mummified position, periodically for a certain period of time. And then he, quote unquote, resurrects, just like the snow goes into a hardened space, a mummified space, a crystallized space, and then eventually it resurrects when the warmth comes. The same thing happens with Awusi Ausar, goes into that mummified space and then eventually is resurrected and the spirit rises back up and so forth. So the coolness, the white crown, white wrappings and so forth, purification, mummification, going into a hibernation state, purificatory state, to recalibrate oneself so you can resurrect back at the right time and so forth. They showed us who the divinity, Awusi, who governs the wintertime in this great constellation, Orion, which we call Sa, is also the divinity that governs this whole cycle of death, hibernation, and resurrection. So when we invoke this divinity at this time of the year and so forth, we go into this hibernation kind of space so we can recalibrate ourselves. That is part and parcel of the SUSUW practice. And SUSUW means meditation in the ancient language. Now, let's go back once again. So we're going to get a little bit more detailed in the definitions. Okay, so as you can see here, we show the root is Asi, which means seat or throne, and then there are variations on that. Asi, which becomes Asid or Asidi or Asar and so forth. Asi, Awusi, Ayi, Si, Awi, Si, and so forth. So we talked about that: to stand, to be in a fixed upright position, to sit and state in a stately manner as a king. Si, to place, to set, to rise, to come up, to set foot, to lead, to descend, come down upon, purification, all of these different things. And in the book, we define each one cosmologically. Asi. Then we have the next one is Awisi. Awia is the sun. So Awiasi is the one who purifies and operates through the sun and so forth. You have Awusi. Awu means death, and Awusi, the one who purifies. Awu, the death process. Awusi. Ayi means funeral. Ayisi, the one who purifies, the funerary practice. When someone transitions and is buried and so forth, and pour libation, just like you take a seed and plant it in the ground, cover it over with dirt, and then pour libation over it. That's actually a funerary ceremony. Eventually, there's going to be a resurrection. When we place the body in the soil and bury and cover the individual and so forth, and their spirit rises up after we pour libation, and we can communicate with that ancestor or ancestress. That's a funerary process. So Ayisi, we're talking about the purificatory practice of funerary ritual, which assists the deceased spirit to go to the ancestral realm in harmony and not be an earthbound spirit causing problems, hanging around the place that they died and traumatizing people. So we get into all of that. Now, I want to show you this image right quick. So here you have Awusi in the white crown, that white coolness, white deals with coolness and so forth, contemplation, inner, reflection and so forth. You see him on the funerary bier, then he rises up and so forth. Now, if you look at the name, and let's go back to the Awusi part. You look at the names of the divinities, they don't waste any syllables or any aspect of the cosmology. When we talk about Awusi, the word for death in tree is Wu or Owu. Okay, you weren't seeing that. Let me go back right quick, because I thought it was up on the screen. Let me go back down. Okay, so we said Asi, Awusi, Aisi, Awisi, Sisi, and so forth. These definitions all revolving around C to establish the seat of authority, leadership, and all of that. And then we show each one Asi, and we go into detail about each title of Ausar. This one is Awisi or Ariasi, when he's purificatory of the sun and so forth. Awusi, the word for death, Awu, and Si, the purification of the death process. Even the term Awusin and Akan means a sudden death and so forth. But you also look at Awusi, smoke or fume. Now, when you look at smoke or fume, and it also means steam, when something is burning, you have water and heat and so forth, and then you see this white substance float up in the sky. That's the wusiu or the wusi, Awusi. That is Ausar. When you see that spirit rising up, someone transitions, the spirit rises up from the body like smoke and so forth, or steam, white smoke and so forth. That is called wusiu or wusi. And Ausar facilitates spirit possession, the deity descending upon and getting inside of the body of the individual, and also the spirit leaving after spirit possession, after communication has taken place. He facilitates that process as Awusi, and that's why the term for smoke or steam is Awusiu, and that directly relates to that, when the ice begins to melt and it turns into steam or vapor that rises up into the heavens. Same cosmology when Ausar was mummified, he was killed, mummified, but then his spirit is resurrected and rises up into the heavenly realm. And he becomes the model of how you become an honorable ancestor or ancestress. So you have that imagery of that white steam or smoke and so forth, water freezing into ice, and then being freed or resurrected as steam. Someone transitioning, mummified, spirit is resurrected. On earth, earth is warm and greenery and so forth. Everything dies, it becomes cold, the snow frozen, that's mummification, resurrection. The black bear operant within nature and so forth. When the winter comes, he goes into a stoop or torpor and a form of hibernation and so forth, becomes rigid, mummified, sleep, or quote unquote deceased for a certain period, then resurrected. And when we engage the ritual process, when we go into SUSUW meditation, we go into a meditative or mummified state. We go internal, communicate with the ancestral spirits and deities, get the information we need, recalibrate ourselves in harmony with divine order, and then come out of that state, that mummified state, and come back into the consciousness of the present, and we've been seeded by our consciousness purified, but also dispense some energy from the Abosom, the divinities. Now, so it's all related in that context. Now, so you see Awusi, sudden death. Of course, that's Awusi Ausar. He gets killed, sudden death. Awusi, smoking, all of that. Now, let's get to another aspect of this. When he's operating through in harmony with Ra, and he operates through the sun on Sunday, and you see Ausar and Ra operating within the same body. Ausar, the mummified lower half, and the flat-horned ram with the solar disk is Ra, the upper half, and so forth. Let's go back. Okay. So you see in the cosmology, and we explain this in detail, when he's called Afura, when Ra is in the solar disk and the flat-horned ram is the upper half, and the lower half is Ausar, mummified, and they're working together in the same vehicle, like two people sitting in the same car, and one is giving direction and one is driving and so forth. This is Ausar and Ra working together as Ra, Ausar operating through the sun. That solar energy resurrects, the body, the mummified body and so forth. So that's in the solar context. So this is that period when he's going through the mummification process, the coolness and so forth. And then in the spring, when he's shown with the green skin, Waj-Ur, the great green one, he's Kam-Ur, the great black one. But when he's Waj-Ur, the great green one, that's renewal. The plants are coming back and so forth, resurrection and all of that. Now, when we look at the divinity Ajwa, when she operates through the moon, that's Auset. But when Ausar operates through the moon, he's called Ajo. When he's operating through the sun with Ra, he's called Asi or Awusi, Ayisi, Awisi, and so forth. But when he operates through the moon, along with his female counterpart, Auset, he's called Ajo, and she's called Ajoa, the feminine. When she operates through the sun in harmony with Ra'et, she's called Essi, and let's look at that first. So this is Auset, the great mother and so forth. She's called Auset or Essi in Coptic. You see the name here, Essi. So when she's operating through the sun, the solar disk, she's called Auset, Ra'et, Set, or Essi and so forth. And you see she has the solar disk on her head, so she's Essi or Esset or Auset and so forth. But when she's operating through the moon, her spirit possesses the moon and transmits her energy through the moon, she's called Ajwa. When Ausar is operating through the sun, he's Awusi, Asi, and so forth, and he's transmitting his energy through the solar disk. When he's possessing the sun, just like a spirit can possess the body of a person, they possess the planet, sun, moon, and stars. His spirit envelops the sun, possesses it, and transmits his energy through the sun. He's Ausar, Awusi, Awisi, and so forth. But when he operates through the moon, he's Ajo. Same thing with Auset. When she possesses the sun, she's Auset, Ra'et, Set, or Essi. When she possesses the moon, she's Ajwa. Why is she called Ajwa? And why is he called Ajo, the male aspect? Jo means to cool, calm, to be quiet, to be at peace, rest. It also means root, but you also have Anajo, night, and so forth. And then the related term, Wo, meaning to engender, beget, generate, procreate, bring forth. That's a title associated with both of them. And cold and chill, associated with that title. When you're talking about the moon, the sun is the fiery energy, the moon is the cool energy at night and so forth when things get cold and chill. So these titles associated with the moon have to do with coolness, cold, chill, and so forth. And so then we go through the entire space of Jo, meaning to cool, and Jo, meaning root. So Ajua on the feminine side, she's the cool one, she's the root, she's the foundation and so forth, connected to the root, kara kara, which is misnomer chakra, but the original term from Kamit is kara kara. Same thing with Ajo, Ausar, operant through the moon. He's the root, the foundation on the male throne, and she's the female throne and so forth. Coolness, the cold, and the wintertime and so forth, the constellation Sa or Orion, all of that. And so we show the Adinkra symbols associated with that. And then you have Awo, which means cold or chill, and that's associated with childbirth and the parents who woe, they engender, beget, generate. Hold on one second, let me make sure. Okay. And then we show how they govern the, reproductive area and so forth. But let me just show you this as well. And this, by the way, is one of the Akan Ajua or thrones, same as Ajua, the name of the divinity. She's the seat or the throne. She wears the throne on her head. And that is the sacred throne, making up her name. Asi with the T, Asit or Aset is spelled with the throne. And even that throne itself is actually the symbol of the woman herself. You see a kneeling pregnant woman, and that is the original representation from which the throne was created. She's the throne for the child that's going to sit on her and nurse and, be nourished and so forth. So the stylized high-backed throne that you see in ancient Kamit that is representative of authority and so forth comes from literally the body of the woman, who's the first throne that any child is placed upon. It's not placed upon the lap of the father, placed on the lap of the mother for nursing. And that's the original throne. So her name, Ajua, is also related to Ajua, which is a term in Akan for a throne. Aset or Asit, this means a chair or a throne. And then her name is Aset or Asit, which is also the throne. So she literally is the throne. And we show these Akan thrones, and then you show the Ures and ancient Kamit, same symbol, a number of different things there. We talked about the term CC in Akan, meaning the lower back, the support system that you sit upon and keep you upright and focused and so forth. This throne in Akan culture is the same CC or throne within your body. It's a replication of that. And this is the way the names of Ausar and Aset are spelled. Both of them have the throne in the name. But the moon, which is important, this is Ausar, operant through the moon is Ausar Ya, and he has the lunar disc on his head and so forth. And it's that aspect of Ausar is Ausar Ya when he's called Ajo. In Kamit, it's Ucha and Uchau. That becomes Uja and Ucho and Ujo, which is Ajo and Ajoa in Akan and so forth, but it's Ucha, Ucho, and Ucho. That's where it comes from. So the moon on the feminine side is Uchat and Uchot and so forth. On the masculine side, Ucha and Ucho. That becomes Ajo and Ajoa. In Akan, the male and female forces governing the moon, the light or white light in the darkness, in the coolness, lighting your way through the darkness of the coolness. Ausar is lighting your way through the darkness of the winter and so forth, takes you into mummification, takes you into hibernation, you recalibrate yourself, and then you resurrect at the springtime. Takes you into meditation, you become mummified, you become still, you go internalize and so forth, you recalibrate yourself, and then you resurrect and your spirit comes forward. So he governs the snow, he governs the coolness. With the coolness, you can go internal and reflective and contemplative and so forth. All these different things. So we show some of the ritual invocations from the language of ancient Kamit and so forth in that part. So we go into a number of different things there. So we're going to get into some, okay, so just so you can understand. So that's why we have this symbolism of the bear. You see the Meduten Toro, the hieroglyphs there that spell out Sadaku, which is the term for snow in ancient Kamit. And as we said earlier, within the Hoodoo tradition, when our Akan people were forced into North America, just like we would normally do, even if we came willingly to different parts of the world, but we were forced over here. We're in an environment where white stuff is falling, it becomes cool, it becomes cold, things become frozen and so forth. What divinity governs this cycle in creation? How do we harmonize with this cycle so we don't die in the snow? But what can we do? What plant life, mineral life do we need to extract, animal life to survive, to be strong, to be vitalized, and harmonize with this phase and cycle of creation so we can come out on the better side? So we found out from the Abosom who governs this, winter cycle and so forth. The animal totem, the bear that we call Sisi or Sisire. We saw a representation of that here in North America, so that incorporated within our clans. The black bear and the white snow, you have the black divinity and the white wrapping and so forth. Snow, ice, hibernation, meditation. We're talking about the ritual process. So, okay, so we have a question in the chat room. That's why Heru sat in the lap of all Set. Got it, exactly. So she is the original throne upon which any child, male or female, that's the first throne that you sit upon, you get nourished. And if you think about it, we mentioned before, if an infant, cries, and then the mother comes and, breastfeeds, in that perspective, you have a small child, a ritual invocation, a ritual chant, a ritual prayer, sound vibrations leaves the mouth of the child. The sound vibrations, affect the mother when she receives that prayer. Then from the perspective of a child, this great being comes after the ritual prayer invocation and comes and dispenses a substance that will give them vitality and power and also immunity and so forth. And we do the same thing when we engage the ritual process of ritual prayer to the Abosom, the divinities, the forces of nature, the great mother and great father, supreme being, the sound vibrations that we release through our ancestral languages provoke the energy of the forces in nature, and the response is a release or a dispensation of their energy that recalibrates us. Just like the baby in provoking the energy of the mother and she releases the milk to the baby, same thing happens with us. So we get into this, when we engage the SUSUW process, the meditation process, this is what we do when we recalibrate ourselves. We actually have, and I want you to see, Tuesday coming up, and we posted this yesterday. This Tuesday coming up is our next SUSUW Meditation Instructor Certification course. So we have a certification course. We've been publishing on SUSUW, the ancient term for meditation, for over 20 years. We've been practicing for over 30. We've conducted SUSUW, the ancient original approach to meditation, for years, but we started certifying people a year and a half ago. So it's a 4-week certification course. Once you become certified, you can go into places of business, schools, human services organizations, and you can conduct meditation sessions, 15 minutes, 20 minutes, and people typically pay you $100, $200 to conduct a 15-minute session with their employees to enhance productivity, for mindfulness, or in a school to enhance, learning outcomes, going to a human services organization, sitting in group therapy, and the therapist will bring you out to help the people in the group for 15, 20 minutes go through a meditative session so they can become less stressed, overcome anxiety, balance their hormones, assist with, overcoming addictions, all these various positive things. So we have a 4-week online course that starts this coming Tuesday. We also have the archive version that is 50% off, so you can become, certified. And once you go through that certification process, the 4-week process, you can take your professional credential and go out and begin to generate income for yourself while you're positively impacting the community. So what we did was, that's coming Tuesday as far as the live course. hold on a second. Okay, we're seeing that. This is what we were talking about. That's the SUSUW Meditation Instructor Certification course. Let me put this out here. Okay, this is the link right here. So you can register for that. What we did is we put out this notice. We have the course, and we have payment plans and so forth for people who are subscribers. It's $300, but when you do your first, and you get the books and everything in the course, and it's a professional credential. When you do your first gig, typically people pay $100 to $200 for you to conduct a 30-minute session. So the first 2 gigs you do in a week, you will cover your tuition and then some. So, but we have payment plans like $49 down, and you can pay it monthly. But we also we just put out something this yesterday, as a matter of fact, because some people asked for a scholarship and so forth. So we decided to do that. We didn't do that a year and a half ago, but somebody asked about it. We said we would see if we can do that. So this coming Tuesday, we have 1 scholarship position, which means you only pay $99. That covers your entire, certification process. You can pay it in full, $99, or you can pay it $49 up front and then $49 later. But we have 1 scholarship position. So if you reach out to us, we ask people, we sent this out yesterday, coming up for this course that's beginning Tuesday, send us an email, or you can contact us via here or online and so forth. Send an email, kwesiakan@gmail.com, or through the site and so forth, to send an email if you are interested in that scholarship, position. We only have 1 of them. So we have to decide who's going to get it. So whoever sends us an email, just give us a very brief description about why you feel like you need that scholarship at this particular time to get your certification. And then we'll just choose, who gets the scholarship. But it's $99. And this is what happens when you go to the website, just so you can see here. We have payment plan options anyway, so you can do a $49 down and $49 a month. But what ends up happening is when you put $49 down and you take the course and you go through it within the 4 weeks, by the time you book your first gig or your second gig, usually within the first 2, like say you did a school on a Monday and a place of employment on a Thursday and so forth, you have generated like $300 to $400, and you would have been able to pay off the entire thing. So you won't have to do it monthly, but you can still do it monthly if you want to. But let me get back to this. All right. So what you'll see is on the Square platform where we have our classes and so forth, you see that when you check out, and let's say you choose the $49 option, one thing that the Square platform does is it automatically gives you the option, as you can see here, to pay in 4. So you can split your payment up into 4 payments, as you can see here, of $12.25. So if you wanted to start off taking the course, whether you want to do the archive course and it's self-study, or you want to do the live course every Tuesday, well, actually every Wednesday, January 28th through February 18th. If you want to come live on Tuesday night or Wednesday nights, or if you want to do the archive course where you get all 4 weeks, the book downloads and everything, you study it on your own. And then we set up a Zoom session after you're finished and go over all the information to make sure you're clear on everything. And then we submit your certificate, and then you have a professional credential you can take anywhere in this country. And we also have people who have been certified in different parts of the world, all Black people, of course. But we certified almost 60 people now across the country in different parts of the world who are using their certification to generate income for themselves weekly, but also empowering our community. But if you sign up for the archive version or the live version, If you go and choose the $49 amount, you can pay that, or you can choose to split that $49 up into 4 payments of $12.25. So you can start today just by paying $12.25, and you won't have to pay the other $12 until a few weeks from now. And you can start the program on Tuesday night, or if you want to do the archive version, you can actually start immediately. You make the payments today, and we'll send you the entire 4 weeks and the book downloads, and you can start studying on your own pace. So we have that option. This is the link right here, the Square site. And we put that out because it's starting Tuesday, but someone asked us previously if you'll have a scholarship option, because at the time they weren't working and they didn't have, the funds and so forth, and they were able to maybe pay $99, but they couldn't pay the full $299 and so forth. So we created that option and we put it out yesterday. So just send us an email if you would like that scholarship. Let us know why you feel you need that scholarship. Just a very brief statement, and then we'll make that assessment. Now, let me also go back to, let me show you this. When you go to our site, we have a number of different products and services and so forth. So when you see on the Square site, you're going to notice that there are a number of different things if you haven't been there before. In the middle, you'll see the Odwirafo book. This is what we were talking about. So this is the 600-page book I released back in March. So if you look on the back, there are 12 books on the back. I published 31 books to date, but I took 12 of them that deal with true historical cosmology and put them all in one encyclopedia-sized volume. So it's 8.5 by 11. It's 600 pages. It's full color. Odwirafo, True Historical Cosmology, or True Historical Anthology, I'm sorry. And the origin of the term Afuraka, the origin of the fictional characters, Jesus, Muhammad, Allah, Yahweh, Buddha, Brahman, the origin of the term God, Afurakani cosmology, true story, a number of different things. We show in the text of Kamit the divine prohibition against dissexuality, homosexuality is written in the text and so forth. A number of different books that deal with cosmology and culture and nation building and restoration and resilience and so forth, holistic approaches to health and all of that. So that book you will see here in the middle. If you purchase it on Amazon, it's a little bit higher. If you purchase it directly from us, it's $44 plus shipping. But again, when you go on the platform, you can click Afterpay at checkout, and you can break that payment up into 4 payments of $13. So you can actually place the order right now for $13, and then you won't have to pay the other $13 until a few weeks from now. A couple more payments and you'll be done. So you can place that. You click here. Let me just show you right quick. Okay. So you see right here, it says Afterpay for interest-free payments of $11 with Afterpay. And it won't be 11. It's actually 13, because once they calculate the shipping price, $2 more would be added. So it's actually 4 interest-free payments of 13. So when you enter your address and everything, for the shipping, you'll see it go from 11 to 13. So you only pay $13 now. If you go to the site now, that's the link. Click on the book. You can see you can pay $13 up front, and then over time you pay the other 3 $13 payments. But that's the book. Now let me go back. You see these 2 courses, the Medut Ntoro. Medut Ntoro is the sacred or divine Ntoro, quote unquote, netter Ntoro. Medut, words or symbols. That's a 2-part course on reading and writing the language and hieroglyphs of Kamit. So we did this 2-part course. There's a 271-page book. dealing with the grammar and language of Kamit, that we go through the entire 271-page book, and you get that book as a free download. And the course, part one, was originally a 6-week course. We have the 6 sessions that is archived. So when you purchase that, it's only $15. You can start going through it and go through the book and everything. And if you like part one, you can go to part two. That's also $15. Or you can buy both of them at the same time in a bundle for $20. And you go through this process. Let me show you the book itself. Just so you can see an image of the book that we're talking about. So this is the book written by a brother, elder. He is now an ancestor. This book, Let the Ancestors Speak, Removing the Veil of Mysticism from Medu Necher, which is Medut Ntoro, by Ankh Mira, A Guide to the Grammar of the Language of Kamit. So that particular book is a very thorough book written by one of our people. It's 271 pages. You'll get the ebook for that as part of the course. And it took us 6 weeks to go through the first half of the book and 6 weeks to go through the second half of the book. That's why we broke it up into 2 separate courses. But you get all the archives of that, you get the book and so forth, and you can go through it. The reason we put that out in the way that we did is because we saw people teaching these courses on how to read and write the hieroglyphs and so forth, and they're charging $300 or $400. And it's not like they're not being trained to be instructors. They're not receiving a credential where they can go out and begin to teach. They're just, you're just an enthusiast and you like language and you're studying, what does this symbol mean? What does this symbol mean? And they're charging $300, $400, $500 for that, which is absurd. Our course is $15. And you get the same information plus more, because we can show the language of the Akan and Yoruba and Ewe and others, the same words with the same meanings and the same deities, for example, in the Akan language that you have in ancient Kamit and Kamit. So we can show the proper translations, things that Egyptologists can't uncover yet, because we're still speaking the same language, still invoking the same deities, unbroken, even into the Hoodoo tradition in North America, and Voodoo and Juju and Wagan and Gengan and so forth, and Gullah and Geechee and all of that. And we show that in our books, in my own books, like the Odwirafo book that we just showed, but also in this course. So you get much more information in our course than you would get from a regular individual talking about their teaching the hieroglyphs, just the regular stuff. And they're charging hundreds, and it's not a professional credential. It's just for enthusiasts. Our course is $15. And you can get both of them for $20, and it's all on the site. So we always attempt to, make sure that things are, reasonable. Even with the SUSUW, meditation instructor course, to get a professional credential that you can use to generate money, we try to make ours affordable. We've seen people charging $1,500, $2,000, $3,000 for a professional credential to become a meditation instructor. One thing that they will not show you, for example, is, and we'll just show this real quick and then we'll be done. Show this on our book. Okay. One of the books that we go over in our course, the Instructor, Meditation Instructor Certification, is our book, Ankh, The Origin of the Term Yoga, Karakasa, The Origin and Nature of the Chakra. And in that book, in fact, we don't even have to open it up, but this is the, the front cover. And we show that the term Ankh or Yonk becomes Yonk and Yoga and so forth. But the Proto-Indo-European term Yonk, which later became Yok or Yoka, but Yonk comes from the ancient Kameti term Ankh, which is also spelled in the Meru text, the pyramid text, Yonk, and we show that. And it means to yoke, and you see the animal in the Medut Ntoro with the Ankh around its neck in the form of a yoke. And then we have the term Karakara, which is the origin of the term Kakra or chakra and so forth. They stole these terms from our language. So we go into the entire cosmology that proves that That's part of our SUSUW Meditation Instructor Certification course, so you can be aware of it. Nobody who's teaching meditation, which is rooted in Hinduism and Buddhism and Taoism and things like that, they're not teaching that truth. They're pretending like meditation and these practices in yoga and so forth came from India, which is totally inaccurate. So they're charging you $1,500, $2,000, $3,000 to become a meditation instructor, and you're getting false information. And we're talking about the original practice, and we show the timeline. So, but ours is only for subscribers, $299, and you can start off with a $49 payment, and you can even break that $49 payment up into a $12.25 payment if you register today. So we always try to make our stuff affordable, but we give more information than the average person. The author book is also part of this 600-page volume. As a matter of fact, you see it's right in the middle. Page 381 is where it starts, and we have the entire book as part of our anthology. It was originally a standalone book, but we included it in our anthology as one of the 12 books in the anthology and so forth. So that's what we wanted to share. Okay. So I just wanted to make sure we got through all of that. Any questions on anything before we check out? I just wanted to introduce this. Some people are actually going to be experiencing this weekend a major snowstorm. We just wanted to point out, first of all, the divinity that governs that cycle in creation is Awusi, which is Ausar. How we were able to find that out in the Hoodoo tradition and still invoke this divinity. In the Hoodoo tradition, those who practice authentic Hoodoo and so forth were able to show his sacred animal totem as the Sisire, or the Sisi, the black bear and so forth, or just bears in general. But we know wherever we go, we become adaptable. We're forced into North America. We're in these areas, whether it's a forest region or, plantation region, or wherever we're found, in the snow and so forth, we learn how to adapt to the region, interface with the forces in nature that govern the rivers and the plains and the forests and the different regions of this region of the Earth Mother's body, harmonize with these forces in nature, extract their medicine from the plant life, the animal life, and even the mineral life, live in harmony with them, and then make our way in a harmonious way. We've always done that. The same is true in Hoodoo, and this is how we were able to find out who is the divinity that governs the snow, the Saraku, as is shown in the total of the hieroglyphs here, the Saraku, who governs the snow, who governs that cycle, and how do we harmonize with that? And how is it related to mummification, hibernation, meditation? And you learn that in the course through the process of SUSUW or meditation and so forth. One final thing, Sundays, and we've been having this Sunday meditation group healing ritual. This Sunday coming up is part 4. We have a presentation on the 7 Ba spirits, and we're doing number 4 this Sunday at 11 a.m. And then after the presentation on that specific spirit, then we have a group healing ritual. We do the SUSUW, the meditation at the end. Let me show you what we're talking about. Okay, so when you see on the square side right here, let me take that down. So we've been doing this in one of the papyri of the Queen Mother Nechemet. She shows how the creator of the universe, Ra, as well as Ra'ed, doesn't just have one Ba or one spirit, but has 7, and they're directly related to the 7 energy centers. So we delineate these 7, and we invoke these 7 different spirits. This is the piece right here, the 7 spirits of Ra and Ra'ed, group healing ritual manifestation. That's the flyer. When we have these group healing rituals, there's no set price. We just, pay what you want. That's why we have these different options. You can add what you want. You can pay $5 or $1, whatever it is. You get the free book downloads. You get the presentation, and then we have a group healing ritual. And then we have discussion about that. So when you look on the site, you'll see that. But every Sunday going through February 15th, if you see these 7 right here, these are the 7 Ba spirits. And we invoke each one of them, but each week for 7 weeks. The first Ba spirit, Wab Peret. What is that divinity's name? What is his role in creation? How is he connected with the crown, kara kara, so-called chakra, and so forth? How do we invoke that spirit to realign ourselves and purify our consciousness? Then the next one was Ucha Afu. How do we align with that force to purify our physical bodies, to make it a vessel for receptivity, divine wisdom, and so forth, so we can be receptive to intelligence and do the right thing. The next one is Aku Ucha, ritual invocation. And then this week is going to be Heka. So each week, we're going through each one of these 7 spirits, who they are, what their role in creation is, how do we align with them, how does that empower us physically, spiritually, emotionally, and socially amongst our community, so we can bring harmony to our people, Black people. How do we incorporate these things to bring harmony and balance to our people so we can move forward and cultivate ourselves economically and politically, socially, and so forth? So we go through each one for 7 weeks. We're on week 4. This Sunday will be week 4. We're going to deal with the divinity Heka, what his role in creation is, his function, how to invoke him, and then we do the group healing ritual at the end. So if you missed any of the first 3, when you go to the site now and you register, and it's open to Black people only. So when you register, we will send you the videos from parts 1, 2, and 3, the first 3 weeks. That way you can catch up. And then by Sunday, and you don't have to see them all before Sunday, but it would be good to do that if you can, or at least one of them, so you can understand what we're doing. So then Sunday comes, 11 a.m., you can, participate. We go through the process. We're going to deal with the fourth Ba spirit, which is Heka, the nature and function of that divinity, his role in creation, and so forth. And then we do the group healing ritual through the process of SUSUW meditation and have that discussion. Okay. So you can go on the page, same link right here, Odwirafo square site right here, and you can download that and you can get to that right now. Okay, so we're gonna end, let's see, chat room. I love and am infinitely, eternally grateful for all the best of health, wealth, knowledge of self for you and all intentionally now. Medase, we appreciate that. And Akan Medase means thank you. Literally, it means Me means me, Da means a lie, and Ase means your base of foundation. So when Akan people say Medase or Medawase, that means I lie down before you. That's their expressive way of saying thank you. So when you hear us say Medase or Yedase, which means we thank you, or we lie down before you, and so forth, that's what we're saying. But Yedase, we appreciate that. Okay, so again, so a couple of things. Just to reiterate, we wanted to do this, piece because of, what's happening this weekend and just how to harmonize with this part of the time of the year. You can go into hibernation, quote unquote, mummification at this cool time of the year and recalibrate yourself. Or some people go into, quote unquote, mummification or hibernation in the cold time of the year, and it manifests in a self-destructive way as seasonal depression. So we don't want to get into that. We want to go into this mummification hibernation process, go inward, purify ourselves. So when we come out of that ritual process and this time frame, we're in a better position. So this is why we wanted to deal with that today. So again, yet I'll say for everyone tuning in, get the book. You can order the book now. This is for our subscribers. You can order the book. You're our followers, subscribers, you're in tune and so forth. You can place an order for the book today for $13. You can also sign up for the SUSUW course. And as you saw with the $49 option, you can break that up into 4 payments of $12.25. And then we also have the Medut Soro. We talked about this before, but the reading and writing the language of Kamit. When we look at these symbols, we're not just studying symbols. The geometric patterns, when you invest your energy into a geometric form, then it provokes the energy of that geometric form, and the feedback mechanism is it stimulates you in a harmonious way. So we have specifically structured geometric forms, whether it's Adinkra symbols in Akan or in CBD symbols, or the symbols in ancient Kamit and Kamit, or the Tifinagh symbols, amongst the Black Berbers, the Tuareg people, and so forth. The sacred symbolism reflect the forces in creation. And we talked about cymatics yesterday and how sound vibrations generated in water generate certain geometric patterns, and those are reflected in the Adinkra symbols and the Medut Toto, the hieroglyphs and other symbols and so forth. So we have a geometric forms that carry a certain configuration of energy. When you plug your energy into them, when you wear them or you showcase them or put them on shrines, you stimulate a healing effect within your physical body and your spirit body as well. So it's not just arbitrary. We learn the symbols of command. We learn the language, but we're also using these as matrices to heal ourselves and recalibrate ourselves. So that's why we study the language. It has some utility. It's not just, interesting. So, okay. So we look forward to connecting with you all. Whoever wants that scholarship position for the SUSUW course, send us an email, kwesiakan@gmail.com, or online. In the comment section here as well, you can do that, when you comment on the video, and we'll move forward in that way. So again, Yirase, we thank you for tuning in, and Yabeshi Abio, we will meet again. That's all.